What if your weakness isn't an accident, but a design? Imagine this. You're born into a world that praises obedience, rewards conformity, and punishes defiance. From the moment you take your first breath, you're handed a script. Go to school. Follow the rules. Seek approval. Avoid risk. Society smiles and says, "This is for your own good." But beneath the surface, a darker truth lurks. Weakness is profitable. Dependence is control. Friedrich Nietzsche saw it first. While the masses clung to morality like a life raft, he tore open the illusion. Morality is the best tool for taming the herd. Think about it. Why do governments, religions, and corporations preach humility, patience, and self-sacrifice? Because a docile population is easy to manage. A hungry lion doesn't ask for permission to eat. But you've been trained to ask for promotions, for love, for permission to even think differently. This isn't paranoia, it's history. Ancient rulers wielded religion to justify their power. Modern institutions weaponize guilt to keep you compliant. Even your desires, your dreams of safety, validation, a normal life, are often not yours at all. They're implants. Society doesn't want you strong. It wants you to be predictable. But here's the secret Nietzsche died for. Your weakness is not fate. It's a test. Every rule, every should, every whispered "you can't" is a hurdle designed to weed out the meek. The game is rigged, but only if you play by their rules. In this video, we'll expose the 3 lies society uses to keep you small, and why you blindly accept them. How virtues like humility became chains, and who benefits from your silence. Nietzsche's forbidden strategy to break free, not through rebellion, but through ruthless self-ownership. This isn't just philosophy, it's a war manual. By the end, you'll see the strings and learn how to cut them. The question is, will you keep kneeling, or will you finally stand? There is a forgotten war raging beneath the surface of civilization, not with swords or guns, but with ideas. 2,000 years ago, a quiet revolution took place that reshaped human nature itself. The weak, unable to compete with the strong physically, devised a far more insidious weapon. They rewrote morality itself. Nietzsche called this the slave revolt in morality, a psychological coup where the powerless inverted all values to serve their survival. What was once strength became sin. What was once noble became dangerous. The Roman virtues of pride, excellence, and ambition were recast as vices, while meekness, poverty, and obedience were elevated to divine ideals. This was no organic evolution of ethics, but a calculated strategy for survival by those who could not compete on equal terms. The priests and moralists of antiquity discovered a profound truth. It is far easier to change how people think about power than to challenge power directly. And so they poisoned the well of human potential at its source. The echoes of this ancient poison still resonate today in ways most never perceive. Our institutions have become secular churches, preaching the same old sermons in modern tongues. The corporate world demands humility and teamwork while systematically crushing individuality. The education system rewards compliance over genius. Even our personal relationships are tainted by this inherited sickness. We apologize for our ambitions, suppress our desires, and call this mutilation of our instincts being civilized. Nietzsche saw through this grand deception with terrifying clarity. He understood how morality had become the ultimate tool of control. Not just external control by institutions, but the far more dangerous internal control where we police ourselves. The most effective prison is one where the prisoners guard the doors themselves. This is why his philosophy was so dangerous, why his words were so feared. He exposed the uncomfortable truth that much of what we call good is simply what serves the herd, and what we call evil is often just what threatens its fragile consensus. The Übermensch, his vision of the self, overcoming individual, represents everything this system fears. A human being unshackled from inherited morality, daring to create their own values. The war for your soul began centuries before your birth. Now the question remains, will you continue fighting for the side that wants you weak, or will you finally defect? Nietzsche saw the truth. You were born free, but conditioned for chains. Not iron shackles, but invisible ones woven into your thoughts. The classroom taught you compliance over curiosity, trading wonder for grades that measure obedience, not intelligence. Your phone's notifications are digital leashes, turning your need for approval into corporate revenue. The marketplace sells you prefabricated identities while whispering, "You're incomplete." Buy this to become whole. Entertainment numbs, news terrifies, and social media replaces real connection with curated performances. They haven't eliminated struggle, just outsourced your resilience to algorithms. The masterstroke? Making you believe these cages are natural. That inequality, limitation, and dependence are inevitable. Nietzsche called this slave morality, when the oppressed worship their oppression as virtue. But here's the secret. None of this is real. The walls are made of collective belief. The chains were never locked. Your desires, programmed. Your language, weaponized. Even your suffering, once the forge of strength, has been radicalized into weakness. They made safety a virtue and ambition a sin. The ultimate lie? That you should fear your own power. That voice asking, "Who are you to want more?" isn't wisdom, it's conditioning. The door is open. The prison only exists if you stay. Nietzsche's challenge echoes, become who you are. Not their version, yours. Will you keep living their story, or finally write your own? The moment of awakening feels like vertigo. That terrifying realization that everything you believed about how the world works was carefully constructed to keep you docile. But knowledge without action is just another form of slavery. Nietzsche didn't expose these truths so we could lament them, but so we could break free. Here's how to begin the excavation of your authentic self. Start by conducting an autopsy on your desires. When you feel drawn to something, a career path, a relationship, a lifestyle, interrogate it mercilessly. Ask, is this truly my will, or an implant from parents, teachers, or advertisers? Nietzsche's method was brutal self-honesty. The most common form of human stupidity is forgetting what we're trying to do. Most of your wants aren't yours. They're someone else's wishes, living rent-free in your mind. Language is the first battleground. Create a personal lexicon of emancipation. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I choose not to." The former assumes limitation. The latter acknowledges power. Nietzsche understood the alchemy of words. We should consider every day lost in which we have not danced at least once. Dance here isn't literal. It's the defiant act of reclaiming your vocabulary from the herd. Develop a practice of strategic disobedience, not reckless rebellion, but calculated acts of reconditioning. Arrive late occasionally when you've always been punctual. Speak first when you'd normally stay silent. Wear what you want, not what's expected. These small acts of defiance against your own conditioning are psychological resistance training. As Nietzsche observed, the surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. Embrace voluntary discomfort. The modern world wants you soft and dependent. Counter this by regularly stepping outside your comfort zone. Cold showers, fasting, strenuous exercise. Not as punishment, but as reclamation of your primal resilience. Nietzsche's Zarathustra declared, "You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame." How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? Create an anti-environment. Just as fish don't notice water, you don't notice the toxic cultural soup you swim in. Curate your inputs aggressively. Replace mainstream news with philosophy. Swap social media for challenging literature. Exchange small talk for meaningful dialogue. Nietzsche lived this. Invisible threads are the strongest ties. What invisible threads are you allowing to bind you? Practice the art of ruthless prioritization. Society wants you distracted by trivialities. Reclaim your attention like the precious resource it is. Ask daily, does this activity expand or diminish my power? Then act accordingly. Nietzsche's warning echoes. Men are punished for their virtues rather than their vices. Your greatest virtue might be your unused potential. Finally, begin the work of becoming. Not better, not improved, but truer. Strip away layer after layer of conditioning until you find the irreducible core of who you are beneath all the should and musts. Then build outward from that authentic center. As Nietzsche challenged us, become who you are, not tomorrow, not someday, now. The path won't be easy. The world doesn't reward those who wake up, but the alternative, a life of comfortable slavery, is infinitely more costly. Your weakness was engineered. Your strength must be reclaimed. One deliberate act at a time, starting today, starting now.